Welcome back to module number 4. We are going to be looking at the clairs today and then doing a deep dive into clairvoyance and clairaudience. Let's take a closer look at what that means for us today. And when we look at our overview of today's session, you're going to come away with an introduction to the 4 clair senses. We're then going to take a deep dive into clairvoyance, which is also known as clear seeing. Then we're going to deep dive into clairaudience, which is clear hearing. And finally, you're going to be able to know how to recognize these senses in yourself. Let's start with our 4 intuitive senses. So everybody has intuitive abilities. That is a fact. And the 4 main ways that we receive guidance is through clairvoyance, which, as I said, is clear seeing, clairaudience, which is clear hearing, clairsentience, which is clear feeling, and claircognizance, which is clear knowing. Now, number 3 and 4, we're going to look at in our next module. And there are other clairs as well, which you will get the opportunity to explore with me when you go into the more in-depth course, and we can do more information about all of those in that. Now, the fact is also most people have 1 or 2 dominant senses, but all of these can be developed with practice. Just because you start out with a particularly strong clairaudience sense or a strong clairsentience doesn't mean that you can't develop those other senses. Yes, you absolutely can. Let's talk about clairvoyance. This is where you see messages essentially, and it's through visual images, symbols, or maybe even light. So some examples that you might encounter, for example, flashes of images in your mind's eye during meditation. You might see repeated symbols or shapes just in everyday life. You might visualize angels, colors, or light that convey reassurance. For some people, it's like seeing movies in their mind, or you might even find that you notice meaningful symbols in all sorts of different places. How can you recognize it within yourself? For example, you might find that you think in pictures. It's like if someone says to you, what did you see in a dream? And you can vividly talk about maybe what someone was wearing or the colors or what was in the dream that was very visual. You might find yourself remembering faces better than names. You can visualize easily when reading. You notice visual details others miss, or you might even dream vividly in color. If any of these are you, then you might find that you're very clairvoyant. Here are some practical tips. You might like to keep a vision journal. Sketch or note the images that you see. You can practice visualization exercises daily. Pay attention to your third eye area between your eyebrows. You might notice colors and light during meditation. Ask angels to show you signs so that you can see. Then there's clairaudience, which is hearing messages. Now, the definition is receiving guidance through words, sounds, or your inner voice. Examples of this are hearing a clear thought or phrase that feels like it's not completely your own. You might find yourself tuning into music, sounds, or whispers that carry meaning. You might receive instructions or comfort in meditation or prayer. You might hear your name called when nobody is there. or even songs with meaningful lyrics appearing repeatedly. So if you're very clairaudient, this is how you might recognize it in yourself. You find that you have an internal dialogue. You remember what people say more than how they look. Music might deeply affect you. You might even hear ringing or tones in your ears, or you even hear your thoughts very clearly. If this is you, you might be clairaudient. How can you improve with your clairaudience? Here's some practical tips. You can record or write down messages immediately. You could practice listening meditation with silence and awareness. You might pay attention to songs that randomly play. Maybe even notice the first thought after asking a question. And in this case, you might even ask angels to speak clearly to you. So there you have it. You now have an introduction to the four clairs, and you know more about clairvoyance and clairaudience. You should now also be able to recognize these senses in yourself. Now, don't worry if you don't, because they might not be your strong ones. Your strong ones might be coming in the next module, because in the next module, we'll take a deep dive into clairsentience and claircognizance. And you'll also gain a greater understanding of your dominant intuitive sense and how to develop your weaker ones. Until then, I invite you to journal which of these senses, and I've just noticed a spelling mistake there, which of these senses are your strongest, and how are you going to develop your weaker senses? Take a few minutes to go into your journal, have a look at your workbook and have a go at completing those questions, and then posting an accountability post in the school group letting us know how you went with clairvoyance and clairaudience. Which of those is the stronger for you? Be awesome to see you in the next module.